Back here with another video. And today we're going to talking about, what I've learned as an 18-year-old teen college student in the market. Obviously, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm here to tell you what to do, what not to do, and what I've learned in my journey. So, let's get into it. First, I want to start off by saying, the couple companies that I've invested in. It's the Taiwan Semiconductor, which is kind of a chip maker in Taiwan. And basically everything electronic, your computer, your phone, any kind of sort of screen to it has a chip in it. And Taiwan Semiconductor makes them. So their biggest buyers are Apple, Nvidia, Google. So these types of companies go out there and, they need chips, and, they send the chip, the certain chip that they'd like to Taiwan Semiconductor, and they make it for them. My next one is Amazon. I believe we all know what Amazon is, drop basically, shipping products. Palantir, which is sort of a AI kind of centered company. Has to do with reading functions, and when given it a task, it's completed. The biggest consumer of Palantir is the U.S. government, right? It's the U.S. I believe the Army. When you ask it to do something, and you ask it to find in-depth analysis on a certain person, certain team, certain country, does the job efficiently, does the job, and it goes through many cycles. If you want to learn more about Palantir, definitely look at a video about it because it's very complicated, but a company that, definitely my number one company. Google. I feel like there's not a lot of explanation there. What Google is, also owns YouTube, and obviously it has a couple phones out there, and it's Google, man. Nvidia, I feel like not a lot to talk about Nvidia, but obviously another AI company focusing on making chips, and currently the best chip maker out there. Amazon is a big consumer of theirs. A lot of people going out there to buy their chips, and the amount of chips, the specific chip, right? Nvidia plans to do a chip every year, almost like an iPhone. How much are their consumers buying of their chips? Which model are they buying? How expensive it is to make, etc. And that's those are the 5 companies I own. And I started buying these companies throughout my journey here on YouTube, around the beginning. I've documented and I've told you guys about every single one. And I'm here to say I've made mistakes. I'm currently down $150 in my portfolio, which honestly is not bad. I've been down $500 because I invested in very high times. So I'm here to tell you what I've made mistakes and how I've learned from the mistakes with some of these companies. So let's start off. My first kind of investment was Google and Amazon. I wanted a foundation. I wanted something that my stock portfolio could kind of build off of. And I did this around before the tariffs were announced. So the market was still pretty high. Amazon was dropping, but I didn't know why at the time. I kind of just assumed that it was due to earnings. And I kind of envisioned where if I put in a good amount of money in Google and Amazon, that'll be a good foundation for me, where these types of companies will only be successful in the next 20, 30 years, right? Companies that, people are just going to continue to, buy and buy products online. No one wants to go to the store anymore. People are starting to get lazier. Amazon is still a company that, I believe will never, kind of go down, so to say, in the long run. Google is just, I thought it was a kind of AI powerhouse. I thought, who doesn't use Google, right? And I chose those two stocks to be my foundation at a very, questionable time in the market, where the market was high, not really drops. And yeah, currently down 114 on Amazon and 134 on Google. That is 13% and 21% of, what I've lost. I've lost 21% with Google, 13% in Amazon. So it's safe to say that I made the wrong investment on a short term there. Now, why that is, right? Patience and market timing, right? Buy timing. The most important thing in the market is when you invest. Doesn't matter if you have the right company, doesn't matter if you have it all, right? You cannot buy at a regular time. You can't just buy because you want to, or you want to start a foundation like I did. It's not how it works, and it cost me around $200 more just on those two companies alone. Now, obviously, once you buy these companies and you're in it for the long run like me, it's hard to sell, right? You can't really sell at a position because, you're young. You're not investing a lot of money. You're putting stuff out there, but it's nothing crazy. That foundation, though, helped me learn on what to do on my next investment, right? My next investment would be Nvidia. I bought Nvidia at a big market drop with the tariffs, and I got it down to 113. A little, right, kind of announced, the tariffs were announced, it's dropping a lot. This was about a month ago. Hasn't been too sharp either. I obviously invested at a decent time. At the time I was looking at it, it was about 130, right? 125. And it dropped to 113. I was able to get it at 113, but stands at 110, 108 right now. Been at 90, right? More patience. Waiting. Then I made a move on the Taiwan Semiconductor a little after Nvidia. I heard that, this was already, tariffs were already being reported. And Taiwan Semiconductor CEO talked to the president, made a speech with the president, saying that they were going to move their manufacturing to America, to the U.S., which is, the Trump game, right? I've talked about this before where Trump wants manufacturing to go to America. Taiwan Semiconductor was the first company to do it. I invested that day, right? I saw the news and I invested. That was a big mistake of mine because there is no reason to invest. There is no, motive there, right? Just because they announce something with the president, how long will it take? How profitable will it be? How profitable will it be to go to America? How expensive will it be to go to America? To move all manufacturing to America? How expensive will it be to pay the cost of labor in America to pay for the cost of labor in America compared to Taiwan? Obviously, this also solved a few question marks around the company, considering, Taiwan and China was kind of back and forth, and I made a whole video on the Taiwan Semiconductor. Actually, you can go check that out. But there's not much going on there. A little news came out. I got excited. I thought I found something. I invested, and it's been one of my worst investments. I'm down only 6% on it, but down, right? There's no reason to invest just because news came out. Let's talk about my last investment. That is Palantir. Now, as you can see, as I've talked about, all my investments have been down. That's why my portfolio is down. But Palantir was the one that, I was able to make a good investment and good move on. Now let's talk about it. I've been looking at Palantir for about 2-3 months. I started looking at it when I started the channel, and I talked about, I made a specific video about Palantir, but I didn't invest then. Right? I was very scared. It's a very volatile stock. It goes up and down a lot. And no, I didn't rush. What I did was I set a goal for myself, right? I said, I'm going to keep looking at this stock every day. And once it reaches 75 or 80, this was about 2 months ago. Check when I posted that video. It was probably standing at 100, maybe 90, maybe even 110. I started looking at it every day, right? Well, obviously the market's waiting for that 70. If it doesn't go to 70, I won't buy it. Right? Found it at 79. I didn't quite get there, right? I didn't see it that day. Week after, it came back to 75. Bought it immediately. So after 3 months after looking at the stock and setting a goal for myself and saying, I'm not going to buy this stock until it reaches 75, because I believe, and I've read enough and done enough research about it to know that this stock is worth more than 75. Even, its relation to its PE rating, right? The stock is now at currently 115. I'm up $198 on it, 50%. Patience, setting a goal, reading what to do at the time. This has been my only good investment. And I plan to do every investment like that in the future. And that's how you guys should be setting your goals. Obviously, important lesson in life is, when you lose money, you learn something, right? Obviously. You know what not to do when you lose money. And you know what to do when you make money. Well, that's what I need to do, and that's what I believe you guys should do. Right? It's helped me, and obviously of my 5, stocks, you guys can see that this was the one that made out. Setting a goal, waiting patiently, knowing when to buy, why the market will drop. If maybe it doesn't get there. Maybe I don't buy it there at 75 and, it goes to 80 and I missed it because I said 75 and it went up to 80. It went down to only 80 and then it goes up to 115. Take the loss. Take the loss. Right? You have to set a goal because you're reading. You're reading where the stock could be and you're saying, looking at specialists, Barron's, CNBC, Yahoo, the Wall Street Journal, you're reading this stock, right? Maybe you're asking me, what your opinion is. Maybe you want me to talk about it so we can research it together. I'll plan, a goal of where this stock could go, when to buy it, if to buy it there, and when to buy it, right? When it gets there, to buy it. And you will see that. No one has to tell you when that stock goes down to 75. The charts will. So I recommend using this strategy when you're in the market. Obviously, another mistake I've made is with Google. Google came out with I was looking at Google. It was coming out with earnings. I saw that one reporter said that Google should be blowing past their earnings this week. It's been recorded that this and that about the company, their progress. Currently down the most with Google. Just because I bought right before earnings. And the earnings reported poorly. Therefore, do not invest because of news. Not because of good news, not because of someone said so, not because of bad news. Do not report because of good news again with the Taiwan Semiconductor, right? Just because he comes up there and plays the Trump game, that doesn't mean I got to invest it in 5 seconds, right? Invest when you have a certain price in mind for that stock and you're patiently waiting, just looking at it every day, waiting for the right time to get into it. That's how you should play the market. That's what's made me successful. And that's how it made the one stock that I have made profit on 50%. That's how I did it. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys, want to talk about a specific stock or, anything, just leave it down in the comments. Really appreciate you guys getting this far into the video. Obviously, haven't recorded in a while, but, it's good to be back. And, your motivation and likes and comments, really help me out to continue going. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate the love. And see you guys in the next one.